Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to sew across the top of the pocket, and that will give it a finished look once we sew it onto the bag. And we're going to also sew across the top of the gussie, so when we sew it on, it will give it a finished look. So what we'll do, we'll just sew across the top of the pocket. Always start with a back stitch. And always end with the back stitch. The other thing I always try to make sure I do, I always burn the thread, which is a nylon thread, so it melts and it just locks it in, and you don't have to worry about it coming out. We'll do the same thing for the top of the gussie. Now if you notice, when I stop and I pull my thread, I always pull the thread from the top. I never pull it from here. This is how people break needles. When they pull it here, the more you pull it, the more that needle will bend, and that's why you will break a needle, because sooner or later it'll bend just enough to go down and hit that foot. So always pull from the top, never from the bottom. Now we're going to move to another machine, and I'm going to go ahead and put my label on. We really don't need this walking foot to do that, so we'll just move to another machine and I'll put the label on. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and sew the label on. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue the pocket onto the bag, which on the inside. This would be our flap. This would be the front of the bag, and this would be the gussie of the bag. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do one more thing. I need to sew across the top of this bag here, across the front of the bag, to give it the finish. I forgot to do that, so let me go back and sew the top of this bag. Okay, now we're ready to construct the bag. And basic, what I always try to tell people that it's just like putting together a puzzle. You're just putting pieces in place. A lot of people want you to think that this is something that is difficult, but it's not. It's not. It's all it is construction. Just look at it from that point of view. You're just constructing something. And basically what we're going to do, right now we're going to do two things. One, we're going to put the gussie. We're going to glue the gussie to the front of the bag. And then we're going to glue the pocket to the back of the bag. So what I will do, I will glue the gussie first, and this is contact cement glue. You don't need a lot of glue to do this. It's only there just to hold the pieces in place until you sew them. So what I will do, and basically what I'm doing, I'm just using the edge of the brush to apply the glue instead of using the full brush, and that way I can put it on as narrow as I want to. Now right here in the corner, you want to put a little more, you want to spread it a little wider, and I'll show you why when we get to that point of putting the gussie on. You want to spread your glue thin. You don't need it real thick. And again, on those curves, make it a little wider. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to glue the gussie. You always want to glue both parts. Never just glue one part. Well, sometimes you can just glue one part and not the other one. But when you're putting on the gussie, you want to glue both parts. I'll let that dry for a couple of seconds. Then what I'll do, I'll just take this, and I want to make sure that my edges are lined up evenly, which means that if I turn it this way and look at it, I don't want to see the back side sticking up over the front side. I want them to be even across. And I'll just take it. Now because this is leather, remember, you can bend it. So I'm bending it so it'll turn that corner. Again, don't let anyone make you believe that this is very difficult and hard to do. People will do that. They just don't want you to know what they know. So I'll line this back up. Okay, this is the gusset. Now the reason why I put a little more glue in that curve, because I want that to lay down a little more, so when I sew it, I have no problem sewing around that. So what I'll do, I'll get some clamps. Clamp it down. Special around this corner. I will let this set for maybe 5 minutes before I sew it, to give the glue time to set, so in that way when I start to sew it, it doesn't shift on me. Now that I have that done, I can take this and I can just put it on the back side just to get a mark of where I will be and what this will do, this will let me know where I need to put my pocket. So now that I have my mark, which is here, I don't want my pocket to be up too high. So I'm going to bring my pocket down to where it's evenly from my mark to the bottom of the bag. And then what I will do, you can use a ruler, I never do, but I sort of just estimate the width between the corner, well, the end of the pocket to the side of the bag. So now what I'll do, I'll just put just a little dot, which is a way for me to register the pocket when I put it back. So I will glue I would only glue around this way. Sometimes you may forget and glue all the way around. Just remember, if you do that, you can't get inside that pocket. So what I'll do, I'll just glue. I'm going to let it dry for maybe about 10 seconds. So in that way, when I put it on, if I need to pick it up, it doesn't leave a mess. So I have my 4 marks that I did. Now I'll just put my pocket down. We'll let that dry for about 10 minutes and then we'll sew it. Okay, now that we have the pocket glued to the back of the bag and we have the gussie glued to the front of the bag, now we're going to go ahead and stitch them together. Now, one thing I recommend you always do is that when you start, especially with your pocket and with your gussie, do your 3 back stitches when you start and 3 back stitches when you finish. That would assure you that you don't have to worry about it coming back because the pocket is coming apart or the gusset is coming apart. Okay? 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Okay. Now what I will do, as usual, I will burn the stitch to lock it in. Okay, now that I've finished stitching the pocket to the back side, I have to change out the bobbin because I have a brown for the bottom and a light color, like a cream color on the top. But for the gussie, what I need is I need a cream on the top and bottom. So I'm going to change out my bobbin. I'll put in my cream color thread. Okay, now I'm ready to sew my gussie. Now the same thing with the gussie. What you want to do is that you want to start with 3 back stitches. It's 1, 2, 3. Now earlier when I was gluing the gusset to the front of the bag, I talked about putting more glue in the corner, and the reason why is because I need to be able to flatten this out and to sew around that. Same thing here. I need to be able to flatten it out. when I get to the end, I need to do my 3 back stitches. Okay, now that we have the gusset sewn to the front of the bag, we burn. That's what the front of the bag would look like. So the next thing we're going to do is we will do the keeper for the side.